Hey, what's up, guys? This is so exciting. This is the first ever of the regular. And if you don't know what that is, you're watching it in a home group right now, most likely. This is actually the new Risen King podcast.
It's crazy.
It's exciting.
It's brand new.
Now, this is not for the world. Not that we're going to filter it or that we even could. This is intentionally designed to really be a companion to go with our Sunday morning messages, to allow us to go deeper and dissect what God's doing in our church and in our community, and to take the Sunday morning messages really a level deeper throughout the week. And so we're launching it in conjunction with home groups this fall, which we're super excited about. We've got over 200 people in home groups all over the city starting this week, which is amazing. And so we felt like, hey, the first couple months, it'd be awesome to use the podcast as the content for the home group. So if you're watching this and you're not in a home group, that's totally fine, because Caitlin's going to say some unbelievable stuff, whether you're in a home group or not. But moving forward, it will be just kind of for everybody. Right now, we want to dive into deep community with each other. And so we thought this would be a great way, super easy flow to make it happen and to give our teams some opportunity and content to consume.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so cool just to go beyond Sunday, right?
Yeah.
Like, we're just going a little bit deeper, a little bit further, and not everybody in every season can do a home group. So that is going to be the majority of what we talk about these first 2 months, is giving us conversations to have around the table with our small groups, because our church is growing, which is so exciting. And as it grows, we want to make sure that it just doesn't get so big, but that we figure out how to stay small and go really intimate and deep in relationship with people.
So if you're not in a home group, feel free to use this and even get an unofficial home group together. Grab a couple people around a dinner, a meal once a week maybe, and watch this, because we're going to give you a lot of really practicals on how to and why to build community. We're going to give you some questions and things that will help nurture and kind of create that connection in where you're at, and whether you're at the church or you're at your home, or heck, you're in your car and you write the questions down and ask them at the next meeting that you're at. So excited.
I love it. Yeah.
Well, I want to really, I guess, even just kind of open it up a little bit with a couple ideas and concepts on why we're doing this. You look in the New Testament, and to be honest, there's not a lot in the Bible as far as instruction on, hey, telling us to have community. There's lots of dialogue. You see lots of instruction where people were interacting poorly. They were gossiping. There's lots of instruction given from the disciples on how to do it well. But you don't have this mandate that says, hey, get in a community, be with people. And really the reason for that is because it was natural. It wasn't something that you had to try to do in the New Testament or even in the Old Testament. Really, in the Bible, you didn't have cars, you didn't have planes, you weren't traveling. You really lived in about a 1 square mile radius for the majority of your life. You lived there with your family. And so we're both from Michigan and Florida. You would never move that far away from family, really. I mean, very, very rare situations would that take place in the Bible. And so community and relationship was like breathing for them. Mm-hmm. There wouldn't be a need to instruct us to have community because it was the natural way that they lived their life. Their life was built in community. And as a matter of fact, they couldn't get away from community if they tried. Their neighbor was probably their mom. Their other neighbor was their in-laws. I mean, you're naturally doing everything. You're going to work with the same people. You're having meals with the same people. The kids that went to school with the same people. And so you've spent 60, 70, 80, 90 years, 100 years in the same small area. Relationship was very easy for them. It really was the natural byproduct of the way that they lived their life. Well, that really, as we know, isn't the case anymore. We're very busy. Mm-hmm. Everybody's on the go.
Yeah.
Finding community can be really hard, and really primarily because we as humans no longer have the natural habits built in to build a relationship, to go deep, to have community. And there's different things from sports or church, where people come together and they're of one accord and in one spirit. But really, even think of a Sunday morning, it's like there's 4 or 5 worship songs. You're not talking to anybody, you're talking to the Lord. Then you sit down and you just listen for an hour.
Yeah.
Right? Like, mm-hmm. You're listening to announcements, you're listening to offering, mm-hmm. You're listening to a message. And then you've been there for an hour and a half now, and maybe you stick around for 15 minutes afterwards. So in an hour and 45 minutes, 2 hours, you've spent 15 minutes actually connecting with somebody.
Yeah, which is why we've put connection time into our service, which I love. And we've gotten some of the craziest stories from connection time of people who just meet up. And then from that moment, like honestly, there's two couples, a younger couple and an older couple, that they're like mentors. They go out to breakfast. They've gone on a vacation together. Like how cool that from that 5 to 7 minute connect. And that's why we create it. Because we're like, we don't want anybody on a Sunday morning when we're in the large gathering to go in and out without connecting with somebody. But honestly, Cole actually just met somebody last Sunday who it was like struggle, but I think you should share it because it shows. Cool. Yeah.
So a gentleman came up to me in the lobby and he said, hey, this is my second time. I was here a couple months ago. And to be honest, once you guys started that meet people time, I panicked and I left. And he thought, I know I need to go and I know I need community. I'm just going to wait till I'm ready. And he's like, so I came back today and I'm ready for that time. And I said, well, we call it connection time and we're going to have it today. He goes, I know, and I'm ready to do it.
Isn't that beautiful though? Like he was super self-aware and I'm like, oh, I'm not ready for this. But we need a place to connect and to
just
belong.
Be honest in your groups right now. Who has panicked as connection time started?
Well, what's funny, actually, that couple I was referring to, I feel like we can shout him out. He won't care. Brian, he was like notorious for always like going to the bathroom or taking the offering baskets out during connection time because he's like, I want to avoid this. And then they met this young couple.
I got to know Brian and realized he's actually doing us a favor because we don't want anybody to know Brian anyways.
Gosh. No,
and
he's
so
the best.
I was thankful that he was doing that. I wish he would hide again. You hear that, Brian? I know you're watching this.
He's joking. Brian and Patty are the best.
He is?
I love them.
I'm joking?
You are joking.
Okay. I guess I'm joking, Brian. My wife says I'm joking. But really, I think that's the thing that we want everybody to kind of lean into in these next few weeks is saying, hey, though we don't necessarily have this instruction in the Bible, the reason we don't have it is because there would have been no need for it. But it is important. Everything that we see in the New Testament in particular, I want to, because we're going to use that really these next few weeks to start to unpack and define who we are as a body, was all done in community, was done over a meal, was done in homes, was done in relationship, was done with a high value of being there for one another. And so whether your home group is a short-lived 8-week or it ends up carrying over into our spring sessions, whatever the case may be, really what we want to do together in these next 8 weeks is we want to, first of all, we're going to define community and discipleship for a church. And then secondly, we want to practice those two things.
Yeah.
We want to practice community. We want to practice discipleship. And I think that as our church grows, you're going to find you have more and more people and more opportunity. It's not like everybody's going to be friends with everybody. Mm-hmm. Different personalities or different fixes. I mean, we're already at a place where there's no way you could know everybody at the church anyways. And so really it becomes more about, hey, I want to practice something that doesn't come natural in our culture and our environment.
Yeah.
And so we have a couple of things built in that we want to give you the tools of to do so that you can practice those. And one of those things is high-low hope.
Yes. So high-low hope is this practice that we've just done with our 4 children because we have our own little small group called the Zigzoo. And when we are like just having a normal kind of hectic, busy week, we use that time around the dinner table to really connect and see each other. And so we give everybody a moment, which our kids have grown through this, so they've gotten a little better. But I mean, it was like talking over each other and stuff, which hopefully your group is more mature to not do that. But we share a high, a low, and a hope for the day. And it does a really good job of like kind of just calibrating and being like, oh, this was something that went really well. This is something that was kind of a bummer. And then this is something I'm really hopeful for and looking forward to. And you get to see a little bit of their heart in a short amount of time.
And we want to just encourage you guys as you do those. It's one of the things that the hosts have been instructed to do. And some may not. You know, we give our hosts a lot of room to kind of lead the groups or host the groups how they want. But I want to encourage you to lean in. You know, what high-low hope does is it's kind of a low-stakes way to really share what's actually going on in your heart. Like sharing our excitements. When I share my excitement with somebody, I'm letting them into my world to celebrate with me.
Yes.
And when I share my low with them, I'm actually letting them in. And I encourage you to be real there. Don't feel like you're a burden. Like, hey, what's been really tough this week? Mm-hmm. Let it out. And then stop and pray for each other. Mm-hmm. Right there on the spot. Hey, let's pray for that right now. And then what's so cool about hope is we've heard of high-low, but we actually added the hope part because I always want to be hoping for something next. I always want to be praying for, I always want to be expecting and having faith that the Lord's going to do something greater in my next season. And so really encourage you to use the high-low hope to just kind of be open, be vulnerable, and get real.
And it does kind of work. I did it years ago in Sacramento with a small group of women. And what's nice about it is you can kind of differentiate where you're at or where somebody in the group is at. Like they might be like, I can share this level of high and low and hope this week. And then maybe that, like, you can go deeper in layers,
Right.
and that's okay. Like some of us need that time.
Yeah.
I wouldn't totally know what that's like because I normally just go right away.
Yes, she does.
But it's kind of nice because you're like, if I'm not ready to just bear it all with everybody,
Yeah.
you're like, oh, I can just share like a fun little high that happened and a fun
Right.
or like a kind of low. And
But
you
it
don't
is
have
a
to go
good
super
practice
deep.
even to use when you start to build closer one-on-one relationships in the
Mhm.
group, and maybe you go to coffee. High Low Hope could be a great tool and resource to just even start coffee off that. And now it is an opportunity to go deeper because you're in a smaller setting. So for this week, we encourage you to do High Low Hope. And then we've got just a few questions that we wanted to throw out, some getting to know you opportunities as it's week 1 so that you guys can connect and talk and just get to know a little bit about your heart.
Okay, here's the questions. I feel like we should answer one of each just to
Deepest,
go first.
darkest secrets.
No, they're fun. We kept
Just
it light.
Not that.
Okay, what is a favorite book, podcast, or something that you're listening to or reading right now?
Obviously, besides the regular, let's just take that one off so that you don't.
I
have
thought
to
you were going to
feel
say
awkward.
besides the Bible.
Well, and the Bible.
I wouldn't have rated the regular.
Yeah, the regular and the Bible. We know those are your favorite. Next, please.
What about you?
Are you asking me?
Yeah,
this?
I think we should answer.
Oh, I mean, I don't really listen to podcasts. That's kind of an awkward question for me.
Or book. What book are you reading? Are you reading a book
Oh,
right
I'm
now?
reading Threads, which is a
Yes.
book about how to build healthy community and discipleship in a church. I'm
Awesome.
actually joining a cohort next Monday with the author of Threads.
I love it.
Which is
See?
exciting.
Now we just got to know you a little bit better.
Got to know me a little bit better.
My favorite book I'm reading right now is called Practicing the Way by John Mark Comer. It's all about the spiritual disciplines of life. Okay, next question. We'll put these in the show notes for you guys. What does a perfect Saturday or day off, because maybe Saturdays aren't your day off, look like for you?
I'm about to sneeze. It's coming. All
I
right.
hope you enjoyed that.
Perfect Saturday. Sleep in.
Okay.
Definitely.
Like no alarm. Like just no alarm has to be set.
Yeah, no alarm.
Okay.
Unless the Michigan game's at 9. So I guess perfect Saturday. Michigan game's at noon. I'm sleeping in. Michigan game's at noon. Obviously, perfect Saturday. Michigan beats Ohio State. And they play Ohio State every game all year, and we beat them every single time. Perfect Saturday. Chill, sit by the pool, hang out with the kids, go to the hot tub. Perfect Saturday is really just doing nothing. Like I'm not like a hiker or a biker or a climber.
I like to go for walks, and it's like
Oh.
I'm not like intense. Don't ask him.
That's debatable.
But okay, here's the difference. I put on my sneakers, and I'm like,
She's trying to
walking.
accomplish something in her walk.
but this guy, when he like loves me enough to go for a walk, it's flip flops and an open mug of coffee. So you can't even walk fast enough to not spill the coffee. So I'm like, here we go. But it's our compromise of how we connect on a Saturday. Okay, next question. Who has been a powerful influence in your life? A mentor or family member? Who's somebody that first person that comes to mind? You don't have to say your mom or dad.
Doug Reed.
Doug Reed.
You guys have all heard Doug. He spoke here.
Well, some people haven't. He
Maybe
was
not.
my youth pastor. I got radically saved at age 16. He was my youth pastor. Cole met him at 18, 19, and he's
Yeah.
been a mentor in both of our lives
Yeah.
ever since.
He's the
He'll
best.
actually be here on September 22nd
Shout out
at
to Big
Risen
and
King,
Fresh.
and he'll be on the regular too. Okay, and then the last question for today.
What
What are
you didn't answer it?
I said Doug Reed.
Oh, you're saying
I'm
you're
just-
using my answer?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's kind of lame.
Well, this is about them, not about us.
Okay.
Okay, last one. What are you looking forward to in the coming season?
Oh, that's a great question. There's lots of things to look forward to. I'm just
Mhm.
thankful for where we're at with the church. I'm excited. I'm excited for Christmas Eve. Christmas Eve last year was so cool, and we were so unprepared and had no idea what we were doing.
Mm,
So this year, I actually feel like we know what we're doing. I'm excited for that. That's gonna be fun. Excited for my fantasy football team. I'm number 1 after the draft, projected to win it all.
all of his fun stuff has to do with football. Are you picking
So-
up on this?
No, Christmas Eve service isn't
Okay.
about football. And Michigan football on Saturdays. I just love college football season. So, and I'm excited for 2 services. I think it's so cool. I really hate that we've turned families away and,
Yes.
and
Breaks my
kids
heart.
away on the
Mhm.
waiting list. And so I'm really excited to create more space. I'm super pumped to figure out how to grow size-wise as a church, but stay small in community.
Yeah,
Can't wait to crack this code together.
I love it.
Woo!
What am I looking forward to? I mean,
Sorry that I had like 15 things.
well, I could ditto most of that.
Michigan football,
I do love Michigan football. You know
fantasy
that.
football. number
No,
1.
I hate
Ditto
fantasy
that.
football. I told him yesterday I could care less about anything he talks about with fantasy football. But I'm turning 40 in the next few weeks, and I'm looking forward to that.
Babe, you don't look a day over 39.
So nice. What else am I excited for? I thought, oh, the Moms Co. So if you haven't heard, it's just like, it actually feels like a little bit of its own home group for moms who probably can't, they have newborns and babies and they're not like ready to do 8 weeks of home group right now.
Yeah.
It's just mommy and me play dates, really simple meetups at the park. It's something I did a long time ago, 14 years ago. Started a
Before
mom's
you were old.
before I was getting old. And it was just such like a breath of fresh air and so life-giving in that stage of stay-at-home mom and little kids. You just to be able to get out, meet at a park and have coffee or talk with other moms. So I'm really excited that that's happening in our church community.
And if you're like, oh, Caleb's turning 40. When's her birthday? It's October 3rd. She doesn't need gifts because she's going on a trip. I'm watching the kids for 5 days. So if you want to do something nice for her birthday, you could get me something because I'm watching the kids for 5
Watching
days.
your kids, you mean spending time with the children you created?
Yes, but it's
You
a
just
lot
outed
of work.
yourself.
It's a lot of
No,
work.
You don't even think that. I feel like you're giving yourself a bad rap.
I'm
right
just
now.
letting them know if they wanted to give me gifts for your birthday, it would make sense.
Oh my gosh. I am going somewhere. I feel like that's what I did to get excited for 40 is you have to like make it fun. So we're doing a little girls trip. Okay, enough about us. Those are your 4 questions. We'll put them in the show notes so you can remember. But then a great way to wrap up is just how can we pray for you? And I really encourage you as you get to know the people in your home group is even like keeping when I've been at my best, I have like either a little prayer journal or a little prayer board where you kind of like keep them in front of you then throughout the week to remind yourself to pray for people in this way too.
It's awesome. And the last thing I would encourage you is try to remember a couple of details from answered questions that you have with each other. One of the things that really communicates community is that we're engaged enough to remember the facts about each other's life. And so when you come back next week and you hear something, a high or a low or a hope, say, hey, how'd that thing work out? What's going on there? Even if you have to jot notes down, if remembering that kind of stuff is challenging, that's a big thing that communicates value is that we've taken the time to intentionally remember what's happening in each other's life and to make that our practice over these next 8 weeks.
That's so good. I'm going to teach you a hack about that, which I feel like I'm publicly outing myself for this, but it's okay. It's worth it if it works for other people. What I've done in those things, because he said like take notes, is when I want to think about when like a friend remembers your coffee order or something. Like coffee is a love language, I believe it. And so if somebody's like, oh, I remember they got a vanilla latte, and you want to surprise them and you're like, oh, I'm going to get them a vanilla latte. But there's so many details in our brains who can remember the favorite coffee order of somebody. So what I do is in my contacts for different people, when I see something about them, even if I'm like, oh, they like sour straws or they like red vines, or I saw them with this vanilla latte from Black Rose, like whatever it is, I kind of just put it in my notes under their contact so I can remember, so that when something comes up and I'm thinking of them or I want to bless them, then I have that. So you could do the same thing with that, where you're like, oh, wow, they're praying for their mom who is, having some issues right now. Put that in your notes. And so then you're like, that's what that was. I'm going to keep remembering that whenever I see that person. Yeah. So it's just a little hack that works for me.
Hope you guys have a great night, a great week. We'll see you next week.
On the regular.